All you need to do is walk into the light. Pantias. Picture yourself in a room no larger than an average kitchen. There are some lockers to the left, plain white cabinets, a catty-corner to the right. The shelf holds a container of coffee K-cups, a blackboard lists a vacation schedule, and employee street clothes decorate the wet floor like some lost remnants of high school. The ceiling is a drop. It's the type that hides all kinds of secrets, just a few inches above the plaster. It's leaking now. Water covers the floor at 4 inches deep, and that number's climbing fast. A bulb flickers overhead. It's the only remaining source of light in the night. Now jam that room with more than a dozen sweating strangers and pump them full of anxiety of an impending unnatural disaster. 9 o'clock. I need to say something to them. The remaining survivors in the room stared at me like bloodthirsty hyenas. The questions they shouted sounded a lot like that too. I'd been here before, only hours before. It was so easy to forget. It felt like a millennia.
What happened to Marcus?
A familiar voice shouted from by the lockers.
What happened to Mitchell?
Someone else called back. I couldn't move my mouth to make the words his poor widow needed to hear. Instead, I just shook my head. Marcus's wife screamed so loud that I thought the glass might break. It was enough to make the other people in the cramped room shudder and shift uncomfortably. Some actually trying to move away from her, like me with the mad cow, but there was just nowhere to go. That horrible, heart-shattering, gob-smacking scream reached down into my insides. I quickly tried to explain myself in a heap of word vomit and broken sentences as water pounded the quickly growing puddles around us. Mitchell, he locked the door. He locked us out. I sputtered as fast as I could. Marcus, he fell over the edge. The room fell silent, save for the poor woman's tears. I tried to make her pain swift, like taking off a band-aid, I told myself. Right? He's dead. I'm sorry. A second chilling scream filled the room. Marcus's children wrapped their arms around their sobbing mother's legs and buried their heads in the folds of her dress. 13 disappointed faces stared back at me. I stared back, defiant, trying to defend myself against any further inquiries. Then I started to break down. Tiffany appeared by my side again. She was drenched from head to toe, with the tie somehow managing to hold her hair out of her eyes. She looked so beautiful then. "Where do we go?" she asked. "Don't know." 9:45. The children managed to fall asleep. A few of us propped up an old table and laid them on it side by side. We wrapped our remaining dry jackets around them. The kids took to snoring soon after. They looked like 5 little pigs in blankets by the end. I made the joke aloud, but nobody laughed. There was more than a foot of water in the room now. It wasn't safe for anybody to lie down on the floor. But Kevin did it anyway, and we didn't stop him. The rest of the adults also tried to close their eyes in whatever way they could. The majority of them huddled in the corner together for warmth and leverage. Tiffany and I agreed to take the first watch. With the way the water was rising, none of us expected to last long. We'd need to have a plan. When everyone had been running around a fucking Costco for hours fighting for their lives, they needed some rest. When it seemed quiet enough that most folks were not listening, Tiffany sided up beside me. "What did you see?" she whispered. I hesitated. "You tell me, and I'll tell you." Jake, Ellen, and Liz soon caught wind of our conversation and quickly shuffled over. The rest of the group stayed quiet. Nobody wanted to wake up the widow. "The snow turned to rain a couple hours ago. Tiffany murmured. Kevin suggested we get to higher ground anyway. Plus, we wanted to find you guys. 2 minutes later, the store got hit by a fucking tsunami. There's got to be a few feet deep down there now. I had to swim out. We got to the stairs just in time. All 13 of us survived. Thanks to Kevin. Liz and Ellen nodded enthusiastically, eyeing the exhausted middle-eyed man lying just above the water. We think he's okay, Jake offered. Just needs some sleep. We started on the morning shift together. I nodded, but something about the story didn't fit. You said 13? Jake hesitated this time. Yeah, we counted once we got in here, just to be sure. Why? We had 16 before Marion went outside, including me. Then you lost her, me, Mitchell, and Marcus. 12. You should have had 12. They all stared ahead stupidly. Do you see what I'm saying? I whispered in a panic. Where the fuck did you get another person? We all turned our attention to the pile of human bodies huddled together in the corner. A few of them breathed steadily under the cover of garbage bags, spare clothes, and paper bags. Some snored by the lockers. The children stirred on the table beside them. But underneath it all, small sounds stuck out. Chewing. The next few things happened quite suddenly. Kevin slipped under the water. Jeff rushed over to help him. Marcus's widow was the first one sleeping to open her eyes. She looked shocked at first, like a proper lady who just sat down on a piece of gum. When she screamed, again, I think most people just thought she was still upset about her husband. Nobody reacted in time. Nobody noticed the red tint to the river forming around Kevin. Nobody noticed the slight disturbance in the water. Nobody noticed one of the children missing from the table. But I did. Just before it happened, the pieces of the situation started to slide into formation. I could feel a presence in the room with us. I could smell its rot. I could hear the horrible gnashing and biting growing louder. Could almost hear the tearing of flesh. And when an avalanche of fresh water poured in through the air vents, I could see the creatures coming inside. I wanted to save Kevin. I wanted to save everyone. I wanted to save myself, too. But I didn't have time. "9:55.